Hey guys, Ruminating Reaper here. It's October, so that can only mean one thing. Spooky month. Yeah, and so throughout the month I'm going to try and get a few horror reviews out, mark the occasion. I've just got done watching my first horror of the month, Host, directed by Rob Savage and co-written by him, Jed Shepard and Gemma Hurley. This is a Shudder original that was made and released during lockdown. I watched this on the Blu-ray edition put out by Second Sight, and going into it, I was looking forward to a fun little throwback to what things were like back in 2020. With it being set in a Zoom meeting. This definitely looked to be a pretty unique horror movie experience. But is this a COVID era horror that delivers on the scares? Let's find out. So the film follows a group of friends: Haley, Gemma, Radina, Caroline, Emma, and Teddy, all of them stuck in their homes in lockdown. One night, the group decides to take part in a seance over Zoom. However, what starts out as a fun, exciting, and memorable experience soon goes horribly, horribly wrong when they unwittingly actually summon a demonic spirit. The group then soon find themselves in a fight for their lives as they quickly realize that the spirits are angry. I think it's a testament to the nature of the horror genre. You're able to get a lot out of very little, that they were obviously able to film this over Zoom and get it put out in lockdown. So in the grand scheme of cinema, this should definitely be looked at as a very important piece for, what things were like in COVID. And I gotta say, obviously it had a lot of hype on its release in 2020, but as a film, yeah, it's a very, very entertaining experience. If you've not seen it, I definitely recommend it. Obviously, the sort of setup of it all is quite familiar, seance gone wrong because of some stupid decisions. It's not exactly groundbreaking stuff for this sort of supernatural horror subgenre. But what I think really makes it unique is the setting. This is obviously set in a Zoom meeting, and it really brings quite a unique sense of atmosphere, obviously with it all being, quite fuzzy phone camera footage, but also really enjoyed how they utilized the Zoom interface and, the connections cutting out, audio cutting out, really authentically translating the experience of a Zoom meeting to the screen and doing quite fun stuff with that within the horror genre, making quite a fun screen life story out of it. Some particularly fun touches I enjoyed were like the cast and crew credits appearing like participants in the meeting. And even on the actual Blu-ray menu, the actual menu appears like buttons you'd find on the Zoom interface. Damn, man, we need more creative Blu-ray DVD menus like this. Really, the only thing that's missing is Ice Cube as a participant in the meeting, making shocked faces at everything going on. But what I think really allows this to land is obviously the character dynamics. The characters are all very well developed. It obviously takes its time building up the dynamics of this group of friends. The early moments, utilize a lot of humor in their sort of like, friendly banter with each other. It allows us to get to know the sort of like established history of these characters, and that is what keeps us invested when shit hits the fan. It is very, very well done. And again, does do a very good job of capturing the sort of like kind of awkward vibes of a Zoom meeting. And the fact that again these are obviously not exactly big names. This is a very small budget film. I thought everyone involved did a great job, and in general I think it speaks very well to how much Rob Savage is able to get out of very little. Before I watched the film, I actually watched the two short films included on the Blu-ray, and I think it really solidifies that he has a bit of a knack for getting, quite high concept stuff and doing quite interesting things filmmaking wise when there's, very little to like work with. It's, very, very strong traits of a filmmaker. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the other stuff he's done as well. See if he keeps that, little skill of his up. I very much enjoyed how he was able to utilize this, this, very confined setting and the sort of, confines of lockdown. He was able to, create scares out of it. The zoom setting really does again make for a very unique atmosphere, and with the sort of framing and blocking of it all, I really enjoyed how he was able to create, tense, unsettling moments. And there's some really great effects in here, digital and practical, that really add to the scares and the the brutality of it all. There's some really quite brutal moments here that really hit hard, and there are actually a couple of jump scares in here that I will say actually kind of caught me off guard. It's a very much, it's a tense, unsettling experience with a great sense of atmosphere that really builds up that tension throughout. But again, it works so well because of the, obviously the close-knit group of characters, but also because, again, the confines of the setting really adds to that sense of unease and paranoia of it all, and it just builds and builds throughout. It's very, very short runtime actually, because obviously this is only 57 minutes, like not even an hour long. Like that's basically a quarter of the Snyder Cut. And within that 57 minutes, it packs a lot of storytelling and character development and great scares and suspense building throughout. I think because of that runtime, I think the ending does, I think, feel a little bit abrupt. And again, I think that is down to the sort of nature of the Zoom meeting setting. You'll understand what I mean if you've seen it. But it does feel like it ends kind of suddenly. But, that's kind of a small issue for what is otherwise a very, very enjoyable bit of screen life horror. Overall, Host is a very, very entertaining horror movie throwback to COVID times that utilizes the confines of lockdown and its Zoom meeting setting to very effectively build scares and suspense. Out of 10, Host gets 8 pumpkins. Yep, the pumpkin system is back for this year. It's here to stay. So, let me know down in the comments, have you seen Host? What did you think of it? Did you actually watch this when it came out back in 2020? Did it hit hard then? And do you think it still holds up now? And what's your favourite, like, screen life, horror or otherwise? And what's your favourite film that Rob Savage has made? And what's your favourite project that was actually released during lockdown? Let me know all that down in the comments. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you're new. And don't forget to turn on post notifications so you don't miss an upload.